bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I want to, at the outset, thank my good friend, Billy Page. And, you know, Billy is the original church lady. She, she manages the choir, and then in her spare time runs Springfield. So, and we have been friends, and she has done a yeoman's job bringing everybody together and bringing all of us to here together today. And Bobby, thank you so much for your endorsement. It really warms my heart and makes me very proud of the friendship that we have had for all these many years. Marty, I don't know what to say about your speech. It was like fire and brimstone going on up here. But thank you very much. And thank you all for saying a few words and for getting up here and talking about why this race is so important to you. And I want to thank all of you here today for all the support you've already given me and the work you've already done. We filed 93,000 petitions. And that was because of your work, and we filed more than any other candidate. I miss seeing him, but I gather my pastor, Peter Lane, Reverend Peter Lane, the pastor at St. Paul the Redeemer, opened our meeting today with prayer, and I want to thank him. And again, to Miss Oliveri, to Mr. Beisel, to Mrs. Warsham, to Kenneth Bell, and to all of you here today. I'm just thrilled to be here, and thank you very much for all your support. I will. I will. I just have to, you know, we were going to have a thingy, but we don't, so it's okay. I am so happy to see all of you in this beautiful setting. I'm happy to see the seniors who are here today and whose wisdom I respect and guidance I value. I'm happy to see the parents who are here with us today, whose lives are dedicated to giving their children a chance to reach their God-given potential. Our official campaign baby is here, Ben, down there. He's the official campaign baby. I'm happy to see the children whose innocence and wonder bring joy to our lives and clarity of purpose. Their future is what brings all of us here together today. And thanks to everybody here, for the clergy and governmental leaders, the police, teachers and firefighters, businessmen and women, and citizens from every neighborhood who are here today. Not for me, but who are here because they love this city and are ready to do the hard work to keep Chicago headed in the right direction. Most of all, and how can we fail to recognize that in this setting? Most of all, I am grateful to God who strengthens us. We are so blessed to have Chicago, this beautiful place, as our home. And so let me begin today by saying something that we all know to be true. We are not a perfect city, but we are a great city. And we will always be a first-tier city because the people who actually live here care enough to keep it that way. Mr. Emanuel, your commercials pose a completely false choice. You may not understand it, but the challenge we face is not whether Chicago will be a second-tier city, but whether our city will be great for all of its citizens. Chicago can't just be great for those who live in the right neighborhoods, or have the right jobs, or have the right connections, who get no-bid contracts and multi-million-dollar payoffs. Let me tell you something about us. Chicago will always be a great city because its people will tolerate nothing less. The real question is, will this city work for the senior citizen who can't afford the taxes on their house? Will Chicago work for the retired teacher whose pension may not be enough to meet the rising cost of living? Is this city going to work for the student who attends a dropout factory that calls itself a high school? And will this city work for the entrepreneur who can't keep his company here because the cost of doing business has gotten too high? This great city cannot survive if some Chicagoans are treated like second-class citizens. All of us make Chicago what it is From Edgewater to Inglewood, Sauganash to Beverly, Lawndale to Little Village, Hedwig to Humboldt Park, Chicago is made up of her neighborhoods and is the sum of all of her communities. And we must make sure that none of them fall apart or are neglected. This city must continue to grow with the support and inclusion of every neighborhood, every community, of businesses large and small, of working people and labor, of families and singles, and all the people who live here and love Chicago. That is the question we face. That is the challenge we have to meet, and that is the challenge that I am uniquely qualified to handle as a daughter of this city and her rich traditions. Standing before this magnificent lake can't help but remind us how very special Chicago is. It is probably the only city in the world where my history could have happened. It is an extraordinary place that defines what it means to be an American. My grandparents moved here from New Orleans and Alabama at the turn of the last century. They believed that Chicago was a place where you could get ahead in life if you didn't mind hard work and cold winters, and if you were tough. My grandmother owned a grocery store at 40th in Indiana. Her husband worked in the stockyards. As children, we were taught that everyone had a personal calling and a duty to do for others, and it was up to us to discover what that calling was and to do our best with it. My father was in law enforcement, and my mother worked in hospitals, and they impressed on my brothers and sister to always remember that we were part of a larger community and had a responsibility to contribute to it. My brother Joe followed my dad and my uncle into law enforcement. My sister Marcia became a public interest lawyer. For me, that path led to public office. First as a United States Attorney, Assistant United States Attorney, then as a state legislator. I was elected Cook County Recorder of Deeds and then to the United States Senate. After that, I became an ambassador, and then I started a small organic business. At every step of the way, I was told to wait, that it wasn't the right time, that it was somebody else's turn. But life isn't about waiting for someone else's permission to do what you think is right. Life is about seizing moments of opportunity to do the best you can for a common good. And it often calls for rising to challenges that seem beyond reach, and that is what I have always done. I started my little organic beverage business at the very beginning of the recession. No one had a crystal ball when we sold our first tea bag in November of 2007. It has been tough sledding, but we persevered, even as investment capital dried up, as we watched some of our vendors go out of business and many of our customers go away. But we hunkered down and did our work, and Ambassador Organics is still standing and will be stronger for the experience. And that's the spirit of our city. Chicago is a city where real values matter, where hard work and perseverance matters, where people look out for each other. No one is handed anything in Chicago. You have to work for it. You have to earn it. You show up, you do the best you can, you take the hits, you get up, and you do your best. We do not shrink from problems, we face them. That is the Chicago spirit, and that is what sustains us. Ours is a spirit that money cannot buy. And while the city has many challenges, creating jobs, balancing our budgets, fixing our schools, protecting our seniors and our children, and making our government more accountable to the people, I stand before you today in the fervent belief that there is no city in this country better positioned for progress and opportunity for all its citizens than Chicago. And that is why, here today, before all of you, I am announcing my candidacy for mayor of the city of Chicago.